The death of the Roman Emperor Nero is portrayed in ancient sources not as a magnificent imperial finale, but rather as a story of profound collapse and isolation. Occurring in AD 68, this event is regarded in Roman history not merely as the death of an emperor, but as a striking example of how absolute power can unravel rapidly and ruthlessly. Although Nero enjoyed a certain degree of support from the Senate and the populace during the early years of his reign, over time he experienced a severe crisis of legitimacy due to his authoritarian rule, arbitrary executions, heavy taxation, and excessive devotion to the arts. His conduct following the Great Fire of Rome, in particular, along with his harsh repression of opponents, paved the way for a convergence of senatorial aristocracy and popular resentment against him. Ancient historians identify this period as the critical turning point at which Nero's political isolation began. The disintegration of imperial authority accelerated with revolts in the provinces. Galba's proclamation as emperor in Spain revealed that Nero had lost not only political legitimacy, but also military support. When even the Praetorian Guard abandoned him, Nero was entirely pushed out of Rome's power structure. From this point onward, ancient sources consistently emphasize that Nero acted no longer as an emperor, but as a fugitive gripped by fear. Historians such as Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio provide detailed accounts of Nero's final days. According to their narratives, Nero fled Rome and attempted to hide with a small number of freedmen, whom he hoped would remain loyal. However, his fear of capture and public execution steadily intensified. In ancient Rome, such an end was considered among the most degrading possible for an emperor, and this prospect ultimately drove Nero to decide to take his own life. The sources further stress his helplessness by noting that he was unable even to carry out the act alone, and required the guidance or assistance of another. A common feature in historical portrayals of Nero is the depiction of his death as a pathetic ending. The fact that the figure who had once been the absolute ruler of Rome died in fear and desperation in an abandoned villa is presented as a moral lesson. Ancient writers interpret this dramatic downfall not merely as an individual tragedy, but as the inevitable consequence of misrule. In conclusion, Nero's death is treated in Roman historiography not as the end of a glorious emperor, but as the unavoidable finale of political errors, loss of legitimacy, and profound isolation. His demise serves as a historical lesson, demonstrating that the continuity of power depends on loyalty, balance, and legitimacy. And for this reason, it remains one of the most dramatic imperial endings in Roman memory.